Tata is a loser photographer who's unable to rizz a baddie. However, everything changes when a beautiful foreign princess suddenly falls in love with him, and despite being engaged, she will try to have some freaky moments with him. The day they met, Tata was stepping outside for a walk. He makes his way to an old castle, hoping to capture some beautiful photos, but as he prepares to take a picture of the cherry blossoms, a blonde-haired girl suddenly steps into his frame. He freezes when he sees her beautiful face, a foreigner. The girl Teresa walks up and asks him to take her picture. At first, Tata doesn't understand her English, but then she switches to speaking Japanese. She asks again, and he finally understands. Tata tries using her camera, but it won't turn on, and he sees that the battery is dead after she had left it on and didn't notice the low battery warning. She apologizes for disturbing him and gets ready to leave since she doesn't have a spare battery. Watching her walk away alone, Tata offers to use her memory card in his own camera. Teresa agrees and he takes her photo. But after she leaves, she forgets her memory card, and Tata doesn't chase after her, confused about what to do with it. Instead, he heads to the lake for more photos. Suddenly, a handkerchief flies into his face. It's Teresa's, and he returns the memory card to her. Tata tries to leave again, but Teresa notices a fenced-off area by the river and climbs over it. She believes it's the escape tunnel from the movie The Rainbow Shogun. Tata stops her and explains that it's not a tunnel, but a sluice gate. He warns her that the area is restricted and she could get in trouble. Teresa understands and says she's just happy to have seen the places she wanted to see, and it's now a special memory for her. As Tata turns to leave, he bumps his head on a tree branch, which embarrasses them both. Later, rain begins to fall. Teresa takes cover under a post, even though her clothes are already soaked. A cat appears and she picks it up to keep it warm, but then she keeps getting splashed by water and still stays positive with the cat. Just then, Tata returns and holds his umbrella over her like a romantic Chad. He quotes a line from The Rainbow Shogun, surprising her. She convinces him that she's fine alone, but when her stomach growls, Tata decides to take her to his grandfather's cafe. At the cafe, customers sip drinks while watching The Rainbow Shogun. Tata and Teresa step inside and the cat she brought with her runs off. His sister Yui sees Tata with Teresa and immediately starts prying to see if she's his girlfriend, but Tata denies it. Teresa introduces herself, and everyone is stunned by her beauty. Yui welcomes her and introduces the cafe staff from her brother to the cat cashier. Tata then asks his grandfather to prepare some food, and since Teresa is soaked, Grandpa asks Yui to lend her a change of clothes. After changing, Teresa uses Yui's phone to call her missing companion. She sits up front to eat, and Tata's usually shy cat curls up in her lap, shocking everyone. Suddenly, Tata's homie Karu bursts into the cafe, asking for his usual, but he freezes when he sees Teresa. He immediately tries to rizz her, but Yui cuts him off, explaining that Teresa is Tata's guest. Karu is stunned, but when he gets too close to her, Teresa's friend Alexandra storms in and slaps him, assuming he's bothering Teresa, shocking everyone. After calming down, Alexandra sits beside Teresa and apologizes to Kaworu, thinking she misunderstood the situation. However, Kaworu keeps trying to rizz until Alexandra gives him a warning glare. Teresa then explains how she got separated from Alexandra at the subway and wandered to the castle, where she met Tada. Excited, Yui talks about learning to write love poems and shows Teresa and Alexandra a romance novel. Teresa reveals that she learned Japanese by watching The Rainbow Shogun, which happens to be a favorite of Yui's grandfather. She also explains she's from Larsenberg, a small European country full of green hills and valleys. Karu and Yui then tease Tata for not being able to ride airplanes out of his fear of heights, which he denies, claiming he simply doesn't like flying. Noticing old photographs hanging in the cafe, Alexandra says it's time to leave. She and Teresa thank everyone for the hospitality and leave. Kaworu realizes he now has a black eye and starts crying, worried that girls won't find him attractive anymore. Out on the busy streets of Ginza, Alexandra complains about the crowd, comparing it to a festival day back in Larsenberg, while Teresa happily yaps about her experience of getting lost. Alexandra scolds her and tells her to be more responsible. Meanwhile, Tata and Kaworu walk around Ginza taking photos. But just then, they spot Teresa and Alexandra again and realize that they're lost. They ask for directions using a map made by someone named Rachel, but neither of them can read it. Alexandra believes that where they are staying is an expensive palace, but to their surprise, their hotel is right next to Tata's grandfather's cafe. Alexandra is unimpressed by the place, but Teresa insists they stay, knowing that Tata's cafe is right next door. Kaoru teases them for becoming Tata's neighbors, but quickly shuts up when Alexandra glares at him. Before parting ways, Teresa thanks them for the help and asks if they can keep in touch. Later that night, Tata edits his photos, and one stands out, a picture of Teresa, as he notices that her eyes are the same color as his cat's. At their hotel, Teresa steps onto the balcony to look up at the night sky. She and Alexandra are surprised they can see stars, even with Tokyo's city lights. For Teresa, it feels like a sign of good luck, and Alexandra agrees, as their first day in Japan may have been chaotic, but it was full of unexpected moments. Teresa smiles, hopeful that even more good things are on the way. The next morning, Tata and Kaoru expect a normal day at school, but to their surprise, the teacher introduces two foreign students joining them, Teresa and Alexandra. The next morning, Alexandra prepares a traditional Japanese breakfast for Teresa. She wants everything to be perfect, including the fermented soybeans, which are a staple for any Japanese breakfast. But when Teresa wakes up to see the breakfast ready, she finds Alexandra wearing a gas mask just to handle the natto. After eating, The two head to school, and their presence immediately grabs attention, as students are buzzing about the new foreign girls. Tata and Karu notice how quickly Teresa and Alexandra have become popular. Hajime suddenly appears and uses a scanning device on Teresa and Alexandra to search for plots, but quickly loses interest, deciding they're not his type. In class, Hinako greets the girls and informs them that all students must join a club. Alexandra doesn't like the idea, but Teresa shows enthusiasm. Hinako takes them on a tour of the school's clubs. Teresa expresses an interest in samurai culture, but Hinako informs her that there is no samurai club. Meanwhile, Tata, Kaoru, and Hajime are already members of the photography club. Hajime declares that their new goal is to win more competitions, and while Kaoru wants to recruit new members, Hajime believes that victory will naturally attract attention. While Hajime talks passionately about photography, Hinako arrives with Teresa and Alexandra. As they step into the room, Hajime happens to be discussing the art of photographing women to create fan service. Disgusted, the girls turn to leave, but Kaoru stops them and offers a quick tour. Hajime introduces himself, and Teresa notices some Graver idol memorabilia. She reaches out to touch one of the items, and Hajime yells, calling it his treasure. Alexandra steps in to defend Teresa, causing tension. Hajime explains what a Graver idol is, models featured in magazines with cute and alluring expressions. He's obsessed with his favorite idol Hina, who he claims is Japan's best. Teresa compares Hina to the Rainbow Shogun, calling her the Rainbow Shogun of Graver idols, which confuses the others. Teresa and Hajime apologize to each other. Hajime is impressed by her respectful attitude and believes that if the girls join the club, it might increase the budget and allow for more creative freedom. Alexandra, unimpressed, still wants to leave, but Teresa becomes interested when she sees a wall of past club photos. Teresa and Alexandra are surprised to learn that Hinako is also a member, but while flustered, Hinako explains that she joined just to save the club from being shut down due to low membership. Hajime doesn't like her reason, and they start arguing, which Kaoru and Tata are used to hearing. Teresa notices one of Tata's photos, a shot of a sluice gate, the same one she saw, and becomes intrigued by photography. She begs Alexandra to try it with her, using her cutest expression, and Alexandra gives in. Hinako mentions that there's a trial period, and they can decide if they want to join afterward. During the trial, Hajime gives a short lecture about the history of cameras. Tata explains the technical side, which quickly bores Kaoru, and he suggests they do a traditional club game instead, where members take pictures of each other like a game of hide-and-seek. Then, before starting the game, Tata calls another newcomer, Kentaro, like a dog, who always responds to Tata calling for him. And now the teams are set. Tata, Teresa, and Kentaro form Team A. Alexandra, Hinako, Hajime, and Kaoru make up Team B. The game begins with Team A as the seekers. Kentaro picks up Alexandra's trail, and Tata finds her, but she dodges the camera with ninja-like moves, and the photo comes out blurry, so it doesn't count. Team A then sets a trap for Hajime using Hina-themed merchandise, and he falls for it, giving Team A solid results. When it's Team B's turn to seek, they chase Team A upstairs but lose sight of them. Alexandra senses Teresa's steps on the second floor, and leads her team there. Team A hides in the science room, and just as Team B is taking photos, Alexandra sees Teresa in distress, and distracts her own team by pretending to tie her shoelace, which gives Team A time to escape. Then Team A becomes seekers again and looks for Team B. Hajime and Hinako stay close together, and a splash of water suddenly hits them. Hajime shields Hinako but focuses more on protecting the camera. Hinako blushes at the moment, and Team A arrives just in time and takes great pictures of the scene. Tata and Teresa laugh at how silly it all is, and Alexandra quietly captures a photo of their candid laughter before their turn ends. Back in the club room, everyone votes on the best photo. Alexandra's photo of Tata and Teresa laughing as the winner, but everyone bursts into laughter at the dramatic presentation of Hajime being topless after getting wet. The trial convinces Teresa to join the photography club, exciting the other members, while Alexandra sighs knowing that she now has to join as well. After school, the group heads to Tata's cafe to celebrate the new members. Hinako tries to leave, but Hajime reminds her that she's still a member, regardless of why she joined. Hinako blushes at his comment and joins the group at Tata's cafe. Upon entering, Yui blushes at the sight of Kentaro, but when the cat spots him, he goes nuts on him. Then they sit down and cheer drinks to welcome the new members. At Tata's house, his cat tries to wake him up, and the cat's memory of being rescued by Tata during a heavy rain 10 years ago still lingers. From that moment, the cat feels deeply indebted to him as Tata saved his life. He nudges Tata repeatedly, but when that doesn't work, he jumps onto Tata's face to finally wake him. Tata begins his usual morning routine, and while he makes coffee, Yui rushes past, clearly late for school. Tata pours some dry food into the cat's bowl, and the cat eats happily. They take a moment to pray to Tata's late parents, a quiet ritual that always moves the cat, who's impressed by Tata's quiet strength. Stepping onto the balcony, Tata breathes in the morning air, and across from him, Teresa waves to him from her hotel. The cat has noticed Teresa and Alexandra around more often lately, but he knows that his master Tata doesn't seem like the type to fold to girls. Meanwhile, Alexandra prepares a large seafood breakfast for Teresa. The cat smells the fish from the balcony and tries to leap toward their room, but he's too heavy and falls short. Then Tata gets ready to open the cafe just as Teresa and Alexandra arrive, worried about the cat. Though a bit sore from the fall, the cat doesn't mind. Alexandra immediately inspects him, checking his legs without hesitation. Tata works alone in the cafe, as it's still early and his grandfather won't arrive until later. He talks to his cat while preparing the shop, and is used to managing everything by himself, but after watching him work, Teresa decides she wants to help. Alexandra resists at first, but Teresa's determination wins her over. Teresa and Alexandra change into cafe uniforms and get ready to help. Karu is the first to arrive, ordering his usual. He tries to interact with the cat, but the cat can't stand him and takes a swipe. The cat has known Karu for years, and to him, Karu has always been a pampered child from a fancy restaurant-owning family, unlike his master. Another regular customer walks in and sits at the bar. The cat, ever suspicious, suspects he might be hiding a secret identity as a hitman. Tata turns on the TV for the man, who always watches Rainbow Shogun. Then Karu and Teresa begin acting out lines from the show for fun. An elderly couple and a young couple enter the cafe. The cat recognizes the elderly couple, as they haven't changed in 10 years. The two of them sit quietly, touched by how familiar the cafe still feels. The elderly pair then orders kappa sandwiches, and Teresa writes it down, but looks confused. Tata later explains the sandwich is just cucumber-based, named after the mythical kappa who loves cucumbers. Teresa serves the young couple but nearly drops the water jug, but the man at the bar catches it just in time. The cat watches the young couple gaze into each other's eyes for 8 long seconds, and he silently approves, seeing that is true love. After everyone finishes and leaves, Tata offers to make drinks for his friends. Instead of coffee, Teresa presents a gift from Larsenberg, a special hot chocolate blend. They all enjoy hot chocolate in beautiful cups, where Teresa picks a rainbow glass and Alexandra a flower-patterned one. Then they drop the chocolate into their drinks and watch it melt quickly. Tata and the cat both prefer bitter flavors, but Teresa offers Tata a sip from her cup. He accepts and tastes it, surprised to find it delicious. She then gives him a piece of dark chocolate, which he stirs into his coffee, amazed at how easily it melts. Meanwhile, when Teresa realizes Tata drank from her glass, she hesitates. It feels like an indirect kiss, but she drinks from it anyway, smiling quietly to herself. The cat then leaves for his usual patrol. On the way, he's stopped by Tata's grandfather, who somehow understands what the cat is up to, and the cat is stunned. At the park, passers-by call him Miko, a name he dislikes. Annoyed, he lies down and dozes off. Meanwhile, the photography club is in the park, taking photos before the contest deadline. Teresa loves the location, imagining it as the kind of place Rainbow Shogun would visit. Karu spooks her with a warning about kappas, but Tata reassures her they don't exist. However, Karu is certain they exist, as in his childhood, his RC boat once got stuck in the lake. His friends joked that a kappa dragged it down and he cried. Tata had been nearby, practicing photography, and came to help him, so the group laughs at that memory. Teresa stands quietly, gazing at the lake. She recalls a moment from her childhood when Alexandra once made a flower crown that blew into the water. Teresa jumped off a bridge to retrieve it, but Alexandra pulled her out, crying afterward from guilt. Teresa shares the story with Tata and Alexandra. Before long, Hajime calls out, saying that it's time to resume the photo shoot. As the day winds down, everyone prepares to leave, but Tata stays behind, still capturing more pictures. Kentaro watches him, inspired by Tata's focus, and he knows Tata's late father was a well-known photographer. Just then, the same cat Teresa once saved in the rain returns, and Kentaro tells her the cat is named Cherry. Tata's cat notices Cherry and locks eyes with her for 8 seconds, causing him to fall in love. He tries to leap toward her but miscalculates and falls into the lake. Soaked, he scrambles up a tree. The cat falls again, but Teresa catches him. She almost loses balance, but Tata catches her in time. Their eyes meet, and the cat sees everything, realizing it's the start of his master's love story. Later that night, the cat prays to Tata's parents. He's grateful for the day Tata saved him and silently vows to protect him forever. Then, thoughts of Cherry creep in, and he rolls around the floor wanting to bump bellies. Elsewhere, Teresa asks Alexandra about the Kappa star. Alexandra begins to explain, but Teresa doesn't hear a word, as she's too caught up looking through the pictures from her magical first day with her new friends. Some days later, the group is preparing to submit their pictures for the contest, when suddenly, Hajime bursts into the clubroom, thrilled that he won a ticket to Hina's first photo book meet and greet. He shows the email to the group, and while everyone looks at it, Hinako grows visibly uneasy, but Alexandra catches her reaction. Hajime becomes defensive, accusing everyone of not appreciating Hina, and he passionately praises her as Japan's greatest model and artist, focusing heavily on her plots and assets. He explains that despite her media presence, Hina rarely appears in public, making this event a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Only 100 people are allowed to attend, and Hajime believes his win isn't random, it's destiny. His reasoning baffles the others and leaves Hinako deeply embarrassed. Hajime continues rambling about how people grow up attached to melons and now feel similarly drawn to Hinas, and he dreams of one day capturing them in photos. Teresa encourages his enthusiasm, while Karu explains that Hajime often gets overly anxious when he's close to achieving something big. Hajime recalls a moment during club recruitment when he took pictures of a blonde girl with heavy makeup, still part of his photo album. Tata pulls out those photos, making Teresa laugh and worsening Hinako's embarrassment, seeing that it's a dude in a dress. Kentaro asks if Hajime is mentally prepared for the meet and greet, wondering if he might pass out when Hina gets too close, and Hajime confidently claims he's ready. To test him, Kaoru pretends to be Hina, causing Hajime to faint immediately. Realizing he's not ready, Hajime begs the others to accompany him. Kaoru and Kintaro refuse, but Tadano agrees and begins training alongside him. Teresa shares her own experience training in ballet to overcome performance anxiety, inspiring Hajime to begin his own preparation routine. He takes notes and asks the group to help him practice, but Kaoru and Kintaro fake illness, and Tata insists he doesn't look feminine enough to help. Hajime turns to Teresa, but Alexandra stops him. So he finally asks Hinako to help him train, who declines at first but agrees anyway. After school, Hajime practices introducing himself while Hinako pretends to be Hina, but he keeps stumbling. She then suggests treating her as Hinako herself, and with calmness, Hajime manages to do it, which makes Hinako happy. She then patiently waits for him to improve, and suggests writing things he wants to say to Hina, but when he starts doing it, Hinako gets more flustered by the second, hearing Hajime writing down and boasting how he knows every crook and cranny of Hina's body. Feeling awkward, she leaves but offers one last tip. Write the person's name on your hand and swallow it to calm down. Later, Teresa and Alexandra walk home together. Teresa admires Hinako's patience with Hajime, and Alexandra shares her belief that people who are in love are bound to lose because love makes them follow the one they care for. The next day in gym class, Tata plays volleyball. Teresa watches in awe as he makes powerful but wildly off-target smashes. Suddenly, Hinako lunges for a ball and nearly hits Teresa, but Alexandra pushes her out of the way. They both hit their heads and end up in the nurse's office with Teresa. There, Alexandra apologizes and quietly says in front of Teresa that she knows the truth, that Hinako is Hina, leaving Teresa stunned. Hinako tries rejecting that claim, but when she sees that Alexandra refuses to back down after school, Teresa brings Hinako to her apartment, surprising her by being her first guest ever. With Alexandra there too, Hinako opens up. She says she's naturally shy and only became a model after her aunt asked her to stand in for someone who missed a shoot. What she thought would be a one-time job became an overnight hit, creating the identity of Hina. Even though Hinako wanted to quit, Hina took on a life of her own, and she never told Hajime the truth because she was afraid of letting him down. Alexandra dismisses Hajime as a creep and obsessed, but Hinako defends him, recalling how he once helped her when they were children. Alexandra accuses her of being in love, but Hinako insists they're just childhood friends. Still, she admits that she doesn't want to disappoint him and wishes he could accept her real self. But Teresa reminds her that her true self is still part of who Hina is. That night, Hajime writes the perfect message for Hina after going through hundreds of drafts. At the meet and greet the next day, Hajime is late while waiting for his friends. Meanwhile, Hinako is absent, and Teresa explains she has something important to take care of. Hajime finally arrives, wearing an outrageous punk outfit with tight pants and creepy glasses. The others are horrified and decide to play a game to determine who has to trade outfits with him. Tata loses, and now in Hajime's clothes, looks even more unsettling. Inside the venue, Hinako prepares herself, and she's made up her mind to finally reveal her true identity to Hajime. When his turn comes, he's visibly nervous, and when he reaches for the note he wrote, he realizes that it's still in the outfit Tata's wearing. While he's panicking, Hina calms him down, telling him the same advice she gave him the day before, and he remembers how Hinako told him the same advice. So in a panic, he writes Hina on his hand and swallows it to calm himself down. The staff tries to drag him away, but he fights to shake her hand, thanks her for existing, and is quickly moved along by the staff, leaving Hinako feeling fuzzy inside. Later, the group gathers at Tata's cafe to celebrate. Hajime beams as he talks about the moment he met his idol, claiming he'll never wash that hand again. Tata finds the missing note but quietly keeps it to himself. That night, Hajime calls Hinako to thank her for the advice, and she briefly worries he's discovered her secret but relaxes when he doesn't mention it. After the call, Hajime is arrested for loitering in his punk outfit. The next day, Hinako confirms that Hajime still hasn't figured it out. Alexandra encourages her to confess properly, reminding her that men can be clueless. Hinako agrees and promises to share her feelings one day, saving the biggest truth for last, and Teresa supports her decision. Later, Teresa feels conflicted about keeping secrets, and Alexandra reminds her that they'll part ways when Teresa finishes school. Teresa quietly reflects on how love complicates everything, and asks Alexandra if she's ever been in love. Flustered, Alexandra avoids the question, giving no answer at all. Meanwhile, Tata, Yui, and their grandfather visit the grave of Tata's parents to pray. As they stand there, Tata remembers the last time he saw his father, just right before his parents left to catch a flight. His dad had promised they would take train photos together, and before leaving, his father snapped one last photo of Tata and Yui, which is now sitting in their house. At home, their grandfather notices how Tata's smile hasn't changed since he was little. The only difference is his size, just like his cat. Suddenly, Tata's friends show up at the cafe and hand him a ticket to Kairu's 10th anniversary show. Kairu announces that he's going to cook for them and borrows Tata's kitchen for the event. His family runs a traditional Japanese restaurant, and last year he grilled barbecue that upset Tata's cat, who ended up chasing Kentaro and becoming the subject of a viral photo. Karu begins preparing the meal, revealing each dish to the group. Then Karu impresses everyone with the ingredients, but his constant talking annoys Alexandra again, and she silences him with another glare. Their laughter reaches Tata's grandfather, who watches his favorite samurai show upstairs. While waiting for the food, the group plays cards. Teresa offers to help Karu, but he insists everything is nearly done. Karu asks Tata to put the fruit in the fridge, and Teresa tries to help, but Tata gets there first and asks her to help him carry the melon. Alexandra tries to assist Teresa, but Hajime pulls her back, reminding her that their card game isn't over. After placing the fruits in the fridge, Teresa notices a wall of old pictures in the living room. She sees photos of Tata, Yui, and the cat from when they were younger, and is surprised at how small the cat used to be. One photo catches her attention. It's the last one Tata's father took before the accident. She's moved by the warmth and emotion in it, and says it feels just like the photos Tata takes now. Tata is surprised, as it's the first time someone understands his photography that way. He tells her that the photo and his father's camera were all that remained after the accident. Teresa realizes he spent the last decade trying to become stronger, which touches him deeply, but before he can say anything, Karu calls everyone over. There, they're blown away by Karu's cooking. As it's so good it almost sends them to the world of food wars. Karu feels proud seeing everyone enjoy the food, and then he announces a special surprise for his 10th anniversary. He rented out an entire bathhouse. Hajime is amazed by how wealthy Karu must be, and Teresa mishears it as a battle house where people fight with swords, which excites her. Tata shows her the actual bathhouse, and she's impressed, as it looks like something from Rainbow Shogun. Karu agrees but admits he's scared of the bathhouse mascot, a kappa. Tata comforts him, and they head inside to warm up while the rain falls. In the girls section, Teresa is amazed by her first bathhouse experience. Yui becomes jealous of Hinako's large assets, and suddenly wonders if boys only like girls with big chests. Teresa says Hajime once told her that size doesn't matter, which gives Yui some hope. She admires Teresa's kindness and abruptly asks if she's dating anyone. Yui says she would love it if Teresa dated Tata, which makes Teresa nervous. Alexandra jokes that Teresa already has a boyfriend. Yui is shocked until Alexandra says she's kidding. Then Yui starts grilling Alexandra about her own love life, making her uncomfortable. Meanwhile, the boys hear the girls laughing and are surprised to hear Hinako's loud laugh. Kentaro asks Hajime if he likes Hinako, but he denies it. Karu then asks Kentaro if he's seeing anyone, teasing him about rumors of an older crush. Kentaro says it's one-sided and hopeless. Then Hajime blurts out a loud comment about melons and the girls are disgusted when they hear it. Karu is asked if he's in a relationship, but he says he doesn't need one, though he wouldn't mind. Kentaro asks Tata, but Karu jumps in, claiming Tata would have told him. Tata stays quiet and finishes his bath, only to find Hajime overheated and staring at the wall with foggy glasses. Hajime gets up, slips on a kappa-shaped bucket, and knocks himself out, while Karu is panicking, thinking the kappa did this. After they change, Hinako tends to Hajime, who gets scolded for slipping. The rain clears up, and the group walks to the train station. Karu says the show is officially over, and everyone thanks him for the meal and memories, despite the chaos. As they walk, Karu warns Tata again about the kappa, but Tata brushes it off, saying it's not real, which frustrates Karu, who wants Tata to rely on him. Tata tells him he knows Karu's been looking out for him since they were kids, and thanks him. Karu insists he'll keep celebrating like this every year for him, no matter what, and they hug after the brief argument. As they part ways, Yui quietly reveals to Teresa and Alexandra that Kaoru's show always falls on the day their parents died, to cheer up Tata and Yui. Tata reflects that he didn't like Kaoru at first, but after their parents died in the accident, Kaoru has done everything he can to make them smile again. Tata finally realizes that the show is Kaoru's way of protecting them from their sadness, and Alexandra is quietly impressed by how deeply Kaoru cares. Then, before they enter their apartment, Alexandra feels someone's presence and throws a punch, but gets blocked by Charles, who is there to propose to Teresa to be his wife and the future queen of Larsenberg. Charles admits he also wanted to experience Japan, a country Teresa deeply loves, and he assures her that his university and job won't be a problem, as he's on vacation. Charles presents Teresa with a flower, symbolizing a love oath, recognizing her status as the Princess of Larsenberg. He expresses interest in visiting her school, but they agree to introduce him as Teresa's childhood friend to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. After his visit, Charles leaves in a red sports car. Teresa becomes anxious about how Tata might feel, and she later confronts Alexandra, aware of her feelings for Charles. Alexandra admits she admires Charles because he's dependable and believes he would make the ideal fiancé for Teresa, especially since she is the future queen of Larsenberg. The next day, Teresa brings Charles to the photography club. His charm immediately captivates the club members, and Hajime grows envious. Feeling Charles has everything from looks, wealth, and charisma, Charles introduces himself and shows genuine interest in the photos, earning the admiration of the entire club, and he's especially taken by Tata's pictures, which showcase the spirit of Japan. Alexandra blushes when Charles compliments her photos, something Kaoru notices and lightly teases her about. Just then, Kaoru tells Tata how Charles and Teresa look perfect together, something Teresa happens to overhear. After school, Teresa takes Charles to Tata's family cafe. Charles praises the place and says he'd visit every day if he lived nearby. Yui encourages the idea, charmed by him as well, and even Tata's usually reserved cat is drawn to Charles, surprising everyone. Yui tries to ask about Charles being Teresa's childhood friend, but Alexandra deflects to avoid revealing the truth. Charles notices the cafe's photo display and learns the photos were taken by Tata's late father. Teresa explains that Tata's parents died in an accident, which inspired him to become a photographer. This makes Charles feel uncomfortable about his own wealth and appearance, knowing Tata has faced hardship. Before leaving, Kaoru invites Charles to a party, but he declines due to plans with Teresa and Alexandra. Later, Yui tells Tata how incredible Charles is and doubts Tata could compare. The next day, the club attends Kaoru's elegant party, and Hajime feels out of place among the fashionable crowd. He compliments Hinako, struck by her beauty, while Kentaro gets excited about the gourmet food, especially the meat buffet. From afar, they spot Charles and mistakenly think he has two girlfriends, but quickly realize they're Teresa and Alexandra. Teresa and Tata lock eyes, and he's captivated by her appearance. Charles explains that a friend invited him and that he brought Teresa and Alexandra as guests, while Tata stares at Teresa for too long, causing her to blush. Charles is soon called away, and everyone spreads out. Kaoru socializes, Kentaro rushes to the buffet, and Hajime approaches a thick woman before being pulled away by Hina. Tata remains behind, quietly taking photos. During the party, a woman accidentally spills champagne on Teresa's dress, and Alexandra suggests she change, but Teresa chooses to clean it herself. On the way back, she spots a nearby building, the one used by the Rainbow Shogun, and decides to explore. Meanwhile, the girls at the party try to dance with Charles, and he asks Alexandra for a dance to avoid them. Though hesitant, she agrees, and they dance while being watched by others. But Karu observes something different in their interaction. Charles is relieved by how kind Teresa's friends are, though Alexandra finds some questionable. He worries Teresa might feel homesick, only to realize he's the one growing more attached. At the same time, Tata is in the Rainbow Shogun building, taking pictures. He's surprised when he sees Teresa, and when it suddenly starts to rain, they take shelter together. Tata offers his jacket, concerned she might catch a cold, and they reflect on their first meeting, which also happened during the rain, and laugh while looking through his photos. As the rain stops and stars fill the sky, Teresa points to the North Star. She explains that it symbolizes guidance and luck, something her nanny used to show her when her mother was too busy. When she temporarily lost her sight, it was the North Star that helped her. Tata shares that his grandfather believed the same thing, and he's been watching that star since he was a boy. In that moment, Teresa realizes they've both been looking at the same star for as long as they can remember. Back at the party, Charles grows worried when Teresa takes too long and begins searching for her. Alexandra searches as well, but is soon approached by Kaoru, who tells her where Teresa is. Alexandra rushes to the Rainbow Shogun building, where she finds Teresa talking to Tata. Teresa senses Alexandra is trembling, just like when they were children, and Charles and Kaoru arrive shortly after. Charles comforts Alexandra and thanks Tata for looking after Teresa. He then leaves with them, leaving Tata to reflect on how close Charles and Teresa really are. At home, Teresa tries to apologize to Alexandra, and then, with conviction, she announces her decision to marry Charles and become queen, even if it means leaving her friends in Japan behind. She reveals she made this decision when they first arrived in the country, and Alexandra smiles, moved by her words. That night, Yui is reading a novel about a Temu Sherlock Holmes when she notices her cat entering and leaving her room, carrying something in his mouth. Lately, he's been going out a lot, so she sets out some food, hoping it will bring him back. In the morning, Yui wakes up Tata and tells him the cat hasn't returned, as the food is untouched. At the cafe, she shares the news with everyone, and Tata jokes that the cat has run off with his girlfriend and gone on a diet. Everyone is surprised to hear the cat might have a girlfriend, and Tata explains that the girlfriend they're talking about is his toy, which he always carries to sleep. The grandfather says cats sometimes leave home to travel when they feel ready, and this makes Yui remember something from her novel, and she realizes it might be her cat's time to go. She starts crying, thinking about how long the cat has been with her. Kaoru, Kentaro, and Tata look at old pictures of Yui sleeping with the cat curled up beside her. Kentaro, who loves animals, offers to help search. Kaoru agrees to join, and Tata asks his grandfather for time off to help too. The group prepares to search, and Kaoru and Kentaro bring a laundry net since the cat dislikes them, while Yui and Tata bring a cage, cat food, and a new toy to act as the cat's girlfriend. Just as they're about to leave, Teresa and Alexandra step out of their hotel. Yui tells them the cat is missing, and Teresa looks worried. Although they're supposed to meet Charles, Alexandra notices Teresa's concern and decides they should help instead. The group searches around the cafe without success, and Teresa tells them that she and Alexandra will join in, which lifts Yui's spirits. Kentaro suggests they split up since cats roam wide territories. Kaoru calls Hajime to ask for help, but Hajime says he's out shopping with Hinako, which excites Kaoru, who assumes they're on a date. But Hinako corrects him, saying it's not a date, but that Hajime simply needed new clothes after being arrested for his degenerate-looking punk outfit. While waiting for Hajime and Hinako, the group splits into teams. Teresa pairs with Alexandra, Tata goes with Kaoru, and Kentaro teams up with Yui, who's inspired by detective stories. She and Kentaro follow clues, and Kentaro shares how he's loved reading animal books since he was little. Suddenly, Carcoon almost hits Yui, but Kentaro pulls her from getting reincarnated, and she blushes as he holds her close. Meanwhile, Kaoru and Tata search the city, showing pictures of the cat. Karu keeps using a photo with himself in it, which makes nearby girls blush. Teresa and Alexandra search the food bazaar, and Teresa buys a lot while asking around but finds no leads. Then Charles calls, and while he was supposed to meet Teresa and Alexandra, he understands their delay. He mentions seeing the cat near a bridge last night while jogging. Everyone heads to the park, and Charles explains that the cat's toy fell into the river, and the cat jumped in after it. Charles rescued the cat, who looked annoyed without his toy, and gave it back, but the cat continued on his way instead of going home. Charles later spots a cat resting under a bench and jokingly asked it a question. Kentaro assumes he's joking, but Charles surprises everyone by saying that the cat tells him that their cat is now at a flower shop. They rush over and find the cat on the roof, but he ignores their calls. Charles says the cat won't explain why he won't come down, and Yui shifts into detective mode. She spots a sunflower and recalls a moment from her novel. Alexandra says sunflowers symbolize loyalty to one person, and Yui realizes that her cat is in love. Teresa looks in the direction the cat is staring and sees Cherry, the cat Teresa once saved, and Yui's cat holds out his toy, as if proposing to her. Cherry disappears from the window and Yui's cat jumps despite being a walking cholesterol, hitting the glass and falling. Yui catches him just in time, and Cherry's owner comes out, Chaki, who Kentaro recognizes. She says the cat has been on the roof all morning, and she's been worried. Kentaro introduces her to the group, and before leaving, Chaki ruffles Kentaro's hair and invites him to her salon for a haircut. Yui notices a connection between them, and Kaoru wonders if Chaki is Kentaro's one-sided crush. Kentaro declares the case solved, but Yui walks ahead of the group, as even though they've found the cat, it doesn't feel like a happy ending to her after seeing Kentaro with Chiaki. The group heads to the food bazaar, and Charles, Kaoru, and Tata discuss love. Charles learns that Tata has never been in love, and Charles admits that he's in love but doesn't know how to make the girl feel the same way. While glancing at Teresa, Kentaro buys takoyaki and sits beside Yui, who still seems sad. She asks about Chiaki, and Kentaro admits that she likes him, but explains that Chiaki sees him like a little brother. He adds that his love for her is one-sided, but he's fine with that, as long as she's smiling, and he's trying to move on from her. Later, Tata, Yui, Teresa, and Alexandra walk home. Tata goes inside first, and Teresa gently asks if Yui is okay. Yui suddenly breaks down, saying she's in love with someone who will never love her back, and Teresa hugs her quietly as Yui cries. The next day, Teresa and Alexandra visit Tata's cafe with a bouquet of sunflowers, and they place it in the front window, right where Yui can see it. Just then, the cat heads out again, but this time Yui lets him go to pursue his love, knowing they're in the same position. That night, on his run, Charles runs into the cat again, and he tells the cat not to give up on his love, which was what Teresa told him years ago when she refused to give up on saving his precious bracelet. The photography club and Charles travel to Mount Fuji as the deadline for the Stars photo contest approaches, and Hajime gets overly excited, fantasizing that all great photos must involve women's plots. Charles, amused by Hajime's energy, briefly imagines the same while driving. When they reach the best spot to photograph Mount Fuji, Teresa feels amazed, as seeing the mountain has been one of her wishes. Unfortunately, clouds block the view, and Hajime shifts focus to the next plan of his, staying up late and photographing the stars until sunrise. The group visits a nearby shrine, and Teresa is excited as the place resembles a scene from Rainbow Shogun. Just then, Alexandra gazes at Charles, but Karu photobombs her. Then, everyone prays and draws fortune slips. For Teresa and Alexandra, it's their first time, and Teresa receives a good fortune that says the person she's waiting for will arrive without notice. She's unsure of its meaning, but Tata explains it likely refers to a soulmate, but Hinako suggests it might just mean someone who brings good luck. Meanwhile, Alexandra and Kentaro receive bad fortunes, warning them to give up on their relationship. Charles gets a lucky one, stating that a loveless life is worse than death. Hajime agrees to that sentiment, as because to him, life without Hina feels like death. Then the boys gather near the shrine, and Tata admits he received a bad love fortune but isn't bothered. Kentaro admires his attitude, while Kaoru, on his third try, gets a super lucky love fortune and encourages the others to draw again. Hearing Kaoru talk about love, Charles becomes curious about it. Kaoru shares his belief that love is for everyone, especially for someone like himself who loves himself deeply. He jokes that Alexandra can love him all she wants, but she tells him that pigs will fly before that happens, and the group laughs. As they descend the shrine stairs, Hajime talks about mutual love, which excites Hinako, but Hajime spoils the moment by thinking back to when Hina clung to him. Kentaro asks Tata what he thinks, but Tata mistakes love for koi, the fish. At the hotel, Hinako asks Teresa and Alexandra how humans fall in love. Alexandra says it usually starts by liking someone's face, unless you're Hajime, who looks at girls' assets first. After bathing, the boys play table tennis, and Karu wins against Kentaro, while Charles narrowly beats Tata. Then everyone rests before their night shoot. Alexandra can't sleep because of the rain and wind, so she steps outside and sees Charles on a call with his company. Seeing her struggling to sleep, he lends Alexandra a music player to help her sleep, and Teresa overhears the conversation, seeing her best friend happy. At midnight, the group begins their stargazing shoot, and Charles stays behind to handle work, impressing Kentaro with his dedication. As they walk to the shoot site, Hajime reflects on how this might be the only year he can do something like this with friends, as he plans to attend Kyoto University and promises to show Teresa around if she ever visits. Kentaro remembers that Teresa and Alexandra's exchange program ends next year, as it was always a one-year arrangement. Karu jokes that Alexandra will be lonely without him. Alexandra lashes out, scaring him away, but then admits she'll miss everyone. And thinking about next year, Teresa starts to worry about Tata. Then the group reaches the shoot location and begins setting up. Teresa and Alexandra fumble with their equipment, but Tata helps them. While adjusting the camera, he shares that he has dreamed of being a photographer since childhood. Teresa admires his dedication and mentions she once wanted to be a ballerina, but gave up because of her height. When asked what she wants to be now, she says her dream is to live gratefully and smile every day. Karu encourages her to dream big, like him, who wants to be a famous chef. Alexandra adds that a healthy mind and body like hers are key to success, and even champions like Johnny Sins lived that way. Then, Tata prepares coffee for everyone, and Karu gets excited but falls asleep not long after. Meanwhile, Tata and Teresa stay awake, working on the photos. Just then Teresa almost falls into the lake, but Tata catches her. As they wait for the clouds to clear, she asks how he manages everything from his school, work, and club. Tata explains that after losing his parents, he felt the need to grow up quickly. He brings up a memory of when Teresa told him something about being strong after seeing his father's picture. Teresa then reveals she once made someone important cry as a child and has since feared hurting others. She wishes she could undo that moment, but Tata reassures her that the past shouldn't control the future and they need to learn and move forward. His words move Teresa, and she feels strongly connected to him. Just then the clouds finally part, and they see the stars together. Tata points out all the stars and constellations, and Teresa leans toward him, embracing this moment of theirs, but a sleepwalking Kaoru interrupts. Teresa's surprise wakes Kaoru up, and when he sees the stars clearly, he wakes the others. The group gathers and marvels at the clear starry sky, and they all take photos until sunrise, but when the sun rises, Tata quietly snaps a picture of Teresa. A few days later, Teresa and Alexandra go with Charles to the airport. Teresa gives him takoyaki as a gift, and before leaving for Larsenberg, Charles encourages Alexandra to trust Teresa, as he admits that both he and Teresa lack the freedom to choose their own path. Before departing, he kisses Teresa's hand and promises to wait for her back home. As he walks to his gate, he hides his emotions because he's in love with Teresa. Outside the airport, Alexandra confronts Teresa, declaring her plan to return to Larsenberg and push for Teresa to marry Charles to become queen. She asks Teresa if she has changed her mind, but Teresa stays silent. Alexandra already knows Teresa has fallen in love with Tata, and Teresa admits the truth that she loves him, but promises to fulfill her royal duty and become queen of Larsenberg. Years ago, Teresa and Alexandra hear a story from their nanny about the rainbow shogun from Japan. Inspired, Teresa dreams of marrying him and becoming a queen, while Alexandra wants to grow up to be a ninja who protects her. Then, years later, before Teresa leaves for Japan, she tells their nanny she'll be going with Alexandra, and their nanny advises them to remember the North Star, as it will guide them through the experiences ahead. Then, Teresa wakes up from that dream, feeling distant from her life in Larsenberg. She and Alexandra return to school after summer break, and at the entrance their friends greet them warmly. Tata notices something different about Teresa, and briefly recalls Charles and how he left. Teresa acts oddly, and when Tata checks if she's okay, Alexandra jumps in and explains she's just excited about the new semester. The bell rings, and everyone heads to class. During class, Tadata notices a caterpillar in Teresa's hair. She panics, and Alexandra tries to smush it, but Tadata calmly picks it up and throws it out the window, which the class applauds. Teresa thanks him formally, which amuses everyone. Later, while taking a test, Teresa drops her eraser under Tadata's desk. He returns it, and she thanks him again. Kaworu comments on her strange behavior, and Alexandra insists Teresa has simply matured, but Hinako observes quietly, feeling uneasy. In the club room, while Teresa takes pictures of a rock, Hinako asks Alexandra about Teresa's odd behavior, but Alexandra assures her that Teresa is back to normal. Kaoru still feels something is off, and hearing that, Tata can't help but think the same. After school, it begins to rain, and without umbrellas, Teresa and Alexandra wait it out. Tata notices them and offers his umbrella, saying that he'll go back with Kaoru. They accept it happily, and Kaoru, expecting Tata to have brought an umbrella for himself, realizes they're both stuck as he didn't bring one, so they dash through the rain to Tata's house. Later, Teresa and Alexandra visit the cafe to return the umbrella, and when Tata and Karu pop up completely soaked, Teresa suddenly snaps out of her distant mood and apologizes for letting them walk home in the rain. The next day, the photography club gathers to vote for the picture they'll submit for the star-themed contest. Teresa submits a photo of a star-shaped rock, and Hajime allows it despite the loose interpretation of the theme. Alexandra proudly shows a photo of a star-shaped ice cream, thinking it's special, but Karu laughs, saying it's nothing special in Japan. Kentaro presents a cat with a star marking on its head, which gets declined, and Karu shares a blurry photo from their road trip, and Hajime advises him on photography techniques. Then Hinako stuns the group with a picture of the Milky Way, and Hajime also submits a professional-level photo of the same. Then, when it's time for Tata to show his entry, he suddenly collapses, and the group quickly takes him home. There, Yui learns Tata has a fever, but stays behind to manage the cafe. Teresa and Alexandra, feeling responsible, ask Yui's grandfather if they can help. Though he says it's not their burden, he allows them to assist, and Yui hands them aprons, while Hinako and Hajime choose to become customers. Then Teresa takes an order from an elderly couple, and they recall Tata's strong work ethic and how rare it is for him to get sick. Just then, Kaoru returns with news that Tata only has a cold and feels sorry for delaying the vote. He offers to cook for Tata, but Yui insists on making her special remedy, one that once helped her grandfather recover quickly, though it was very spicy. Tata eats the spicy dish, then goes to bed while the others rest. At the cashier, the elderly couple hand Teresa a live show of the Rainbow Shogun and encourage her to watch it. While washing dishes, Yui notices Tata's bowl is missing and asks Teresa to retrieve it. In Tata's room, Teresa finds his photo of the Milky Way he took and remembers their moment during the trip. Just then, the wind blows, and when she shuts the window, she sees more of his photos, featuring his friends, including her, and realizes their deep meaning to him. She lifts the sleeping cat off Tata, replaces his fallen compress, and looks closely at his peaceful face. She leans in, acknowledging her feelings, and kisses him for a moment, but stops herself in the middle and tears up, knowing she wants him. The cat comforts her and she holds him, feeling the weight of her love getting crushed by her role as a future queen. The next day, they find Tata healthy again, and Teresa asks him to take her somewhere. The next day, Teresa visits the castle where she met Tata for the first time. She then spots Tata's cat and Cherry walking by, and from a distance, Tata sees Teresa and, just like before, he's captivated by her. She approaches him, but he looks puzzled since Alexandra isn't with her. Teresa explains that Alexandra has another appointment, and shows him a ticket to the Rainbow Shogun exhibition at the Star Tree. Tata finds it strange, as the Star Tree is farther from the castle than their home. When they arrive at the Star Tree, Tata takes photos but feels dizzy from its height, and he says he's okay with heights but avoids flying. As he prepares to go inside for the show, Teresa stops him, revealing that the exhibition is actually on the ground floor. She teases him, saying he always holds back and puts others before him, which he should stop. Inside, Teresa lights up at the sight of the actual props used by the Rainbow Shogun, and she finally shows Tata the well she's mentioned since they first met. They try an arcade game, and Teresa asks Tata to win the Rainbow Shogun's rainbow drops. He wins easily and gives them to her. Teresa takes a turn, trying to win the inverted rainbow fan. She struggles, but on her final shot, she hits the target. Tata senses something odd, not realizing that one of his regular bar customers, a fellow Shogun fan, secretly helped Teresa by shooting from a hidden spot. A guard catches the man and removes him from the building. Then Teresa and Tata watch a Rainbow Shogun play. During the show, a villain appears and yells for them to run. Tata assumes it's part of the act, but Teresa pulls him away, causing him to blush. They get cornered by the villain, but the Rainbow Shogun arrives and defeats him. Afterward, everyone recites the Shogun's famous quote, and Tata feels embarrassed by it, but joins in when Teresa encourages him. As a reward, they get a photo with the Rainbow Shogun, and a staff member compliments Teresa, calling her Tata's pretty girlfriend, making them both blush. After, they browse Rainbow Shogun merchandise. They go to lunch, and Tata is amazed that all the food is rainbow-colored, thinking it might taste fruity. Teresa enjoys the meal and talks about the person who showed her Rainbow Shogun, Rachel, who was Japanese and originally named Reiko. She became an exchange student in Larsenberg, met her husband, and stayed there. Rachel introduced Teresa and Alexandra to the Rainbow Shogun because she was their nanny, and Tata admires Rachel for being able to fly on planes and living abroad. He praises Teresa and Rachel for their courage to live in unfamiliar places, and Teresa explains that not overthinking things helped her adjust to life in Japan. After lunch, they head to the top of the Star Tree so Tata can take more photos. When the elevator doors open, they're surprised to find it raining, and Tata notices it always rains when he's alone with Teresa and jokingly blames her. Teresa says rain is a sign of good fortune from God, and Tata then sees a boy getting his photo taken by his parents, which reminds him of the day his own parents died. The weather was the same that day, and he still blames himself for the accident for not delaying their leave. Teresa comforts him, saying it wasn't his fault, and he tries to open up more but can't fully express his feelings. Teresa surprises him by repeating something he once said, about trying his best not to repeat mistakes and learning from it. She says his words helped her, and Tata is moved by that. The rain clears and rainbows appear in the sky. Tata takes photos of it and shares a quiet moment with her, but suddenly panics when he realizes the floor beneath them is made of glass. After returning home, he gives Teresa souvenirs from the exhibition. She accepts them but trembles slightly, as if hiding something. Tata notices but stays quiet, and before they part, he tries to say something meaningful but can't. Instead, he invites her for coffee, but she turns him down. As he enters his house, Teresa softly thanks him for their time together and walks away. Hours ago, before Teresa and Tata leave the exhibition, Alexandra stops by Tata's cafe to give Yui's grandfather a letter from Rachel. And the old man worries about Rachel but trusts that she'll be okay. Alexandra shares that Rachel used to say his coffee was the only thing that could bring her back back to Japan. At midnight, Tata edits photos for the star photo contest. He finds one of Teresa's eyes reflecting the rainbow and chooses it. Later, he and Karu head to class, and Tata places the photo in Teresa's locker so she'll be the first to see it. In class, they're confused when neither Teresa nor Alexandra shows up, and their teacher enters and announces that due to family matters, both girls have returned to their home country. Hinako, Karu, and especially Tata are left in shock, just as Tata finishes preparing the photo he took of her. Refusing to accept it, they head to the girls' hotel, hoping to prove themselves wrong. Kaoru, in tears, tries calling the hotel, but no one answers. The group gathers on Tata's balcony to look over at Teresa's, only to see that the room is completely empty, and all their belongings are gone. Tata also struggles to believe it, but deep down he senses their departure has meaning. Still, he tries not to care, as he's afraid of being hurt again. That night, Tata notices the rainbow fan Teresa once won for him. His cat walks up to him, and Tata wonders why even a pet would leave without saying goodbye. A month passes, and Teresa and Alexandra still haven't reached out. Rainy days bring the group back to Tata's cafe after school, and Hajime orders an egg sandwich, which Tata starts to prepare, and notices Teresa's old rainbow cup. Hajime flips through Hina's magazine, tilting it suspiciously, but Kentaro catches him and scolds him, telling him to focus on exams. Hajime surprises everyone by claiming he's only waiting for the results, even though the central exam hasn't happened yet. Just then, Yui realizes one of her books is missing, and Karu remembers that Alexandra was the one reading it. Since Tata was the last to see Teresa and Alexandra, his friends question him. Tata says he didn't argue with Teresa, and that she was her usual self the last time they walked together. He gives Hajime a cucumber sandwich instead of the egg one, and Karu notices that Tata has been acting off. After everyone leaves, Kaoru invites Tata to sleep over. While there, they find Tata's cat trapped in a wardrobe, and when Tata opens it, Kaoru notices a shoebox filled with things Teresa gave Tata. The cat tries to pounce on Kaoru, but Tata doesn't take a picture, which is unlike him, and he admits that he hasn't felt like taking photos lately. When Kaoru asks about the photo Tata planned to submit to the Stars contest, Tata says he left it in the clubroom, and Kaoru grows more concerned about his friend. The next day, someone new moves into Teresa and Alexandra's old hotel room, and new furniture is brought in, and while the others are sad, Tata tries to act nonchalant. Later, at school, he searches the club room for his photo submission, but finds the envelope empty, and his friends wonder what was inside. After school, Tata and Kaoru walk home together, and Kaoru remains hopeful, and talks about Christmas plans. Tata states that he will work part-time, while Kaoru will prep for the party, and he warns Tata that he's cooking a huge feast and expects help finishing it, even if Tata hates it. They pass by a store with a mannequin that looks like Teresa, and Kaoru is reminded of her and wonders how Alexandra is doing. Tada coldly says there's no point talking about someone they'll never see again, and Kaoru finds the comment harsh. Then Tada buys a meat bun, and Kaoru demands to know what's going through his head, but Tada stays quiet, hands him a bun, and walks away. Then, during Christmas break, the elderly couple returns to the cafe. They tell Yui the husband had been hospitalized but now wants to enjoy coffee again once he recovers. While cleaning tables, Tada overhears the husband thanking his wife for being in his life, which deeply moves him. Then the wife asks him about Teresa, and Tada admits they went to the Rainbow Shogun show, and she wonders if it was a good memory for her, knowing she gave the ticket to her. That night, Tada thinks of Teresa. He looks at photos he took of her, and remembers the moment he almost said something important but held himself back. A few days later, Tada visits the star tree and climbs it. From the top, he gazes over the city and sees two figures that resemble Teresa and Alexandra. His heart leaps, but when they turn around, he realizes it isn't them. Then, after the Christmas break, Tada throws away the things Teresa gave him. Back at school, the group decides to clean the clubroom to move on. Tada wipes the whiteboard, erasing Teresa and Alexandra's last message. Hinako tries to throw out Hajime's Hina poster, as Hajime is graduating, but Hajime rushes in to stop her, declaring himself the clubroom's honor student. While organizing memory cards, Tada finds one that doesn't belong to them. They play it and discover it belongs to Teresa. It contains photos of the rock she loved, and a video of her first meeting with them during the hide-and-seek, accidentally recorded when the camera was set to movie mode, and it shows how they were all so happy. Teresa's smile shines brightly, and Tada remembers how happy he used to be when with her. He leaves earlier than the others and runs home. Along the way, he recalls his time with Teresa, and he bursts into the house, startling his grandpa and Uetus. He races to his room and sees that the things Teresa gave him are still in the trash. As the sun sets, he lies on his bed, overwhelmed with regret. Kaoru enters, telling him he knows Tada loves Teresa, and Tada remains silent. Kaoru shows him that his photo won the Stars contest, and that it was submitted by Hajime. Tada finally breaks down, blaming himself for staying quiet and letting Teresa go. Suddenly, his grandpa walks in and urges him to go to Larsenberg. Kaoru supports the idea, and Tada decides to go, remembering Teresa's words about regret. Days later, the group attends the Stars contest exhibition. Tada's winning photo of Teresa hangs proudly, but neither he nor Kaoru are there because Tada has already taken a flight to Larsenberg. Unbeknownst to him, Kaoru follows, wanting to witness his friend face the one he loves with courage, while facing his fear of flying. Then Tata arrives in Larsenberg, but remains seated in the airplane, overwhelmed by the experience of flying. Still shaken, Tata eventually makes his way to the airport benches and sits for hours, unsure of what to do next. He hears a voice that sounds like Karu's and thinks it's just his imagination, but Karu is truly there, watching him. Tata then opens the package his grandfather gave to him that is meant for an old friend, and inside is a rainbow shogun cracker, coffee, and a letter for Reiko. Tata remembers the name and realizes that it's for Rachel. Just then, Kaoru catches the scent of hot chocolate nearby, and he realizes it's from the same kind Alexandra and Teresa once gave them. He heads over to buy one, but when he turns around, Tata is leaving and gets on a bus. Kaoru tries to follow him, but has to turn back after forgetting his wallet on the counter. When Tata arrives, he finds the place heavily guarded and struggles to figure out how to get in. Back in Japan, Tata's friends wonder where Karu has gone since the star contest, and eat the Christmas turkey that Karu promised to make them. While enjoying the meal, Hinako senses that Karu might have followed Tata to Larsenberg, but everyone laughs at the idea, thinking it's ridiculous. Meanwhile, at a museum in Larsenberg, Kaoru visits a merchandise shop and spots a photo of Teresa with her family. The shopkeeper reveals that Teresa is actually a princess, which shocks him. Elsewhere in the palace, Alexandra informs Teresa that her dress is ready, and Rachel brings Teresa a daifuku, reminding her of Japan and of Tata. As Alexandra continues preparing the dress, Charles enters to try on his suit. He hands Alexandra a bracelet from his mother, a keepsake related to Teresa. Suddenly he receives a work call, and takes the bracelet back. After he leaves, Alexandra quietly sniffs Charles's suit, taking in all his scent in her soul, but Teresa walks in and catches her in the act. Outside, Tata attempts to speak to the palace guards, but they ignore him. From a distance, Rachel spots him and mistakes him for his grandfather. After he introduces himself, he gives her the letter from his grandfather. She invites him into her office, and upon reading the letter, she shares that she used to work in his grandfather's cafe. Suddenly, Charles enters and is surprised to find Tata in Larsenberg. Meanwhile, Teresa confronts Alexandra about her feelings for Charles, and Alexandra denies it, but Teresa notices her rubbing her arm, something she always does when she's lying. Teresa calls her out, and suddenly Charles and Rachel return and announce that a surprise visitor has arrived. Teresa and Alexandra are stunned when they see Tata, and he says he came here because they vanished without a word. But Charles lies and claims Tata is there to see Rachel. Tata picks up the daifuku that fell and places it on Teresa's plate. Alexandra addresses Teresa as Lady, which confuses Tata, and Charles then asks Alexandra and Rachel to give them privacy. Tata and Teresa move to a private room for tea. She expresses relief that their friends in Japan are doing well and apologizes for disappearing so suddenly. She notices the keychain on his bag, the one they picked out together. Then she reveals the truth that she is the Princess of Larsenberg, the royal family's only daughter and the future heir to the throne. Tata starts to connect this to the sadness she sometimes showed in Japan. Teresa explains that her family has a tradition of sending young royals to study abroad before adulthood, and she chose Japan, where she met Tata and their friends. She became so immersed in her time there that she began to forget her duties, and that's why she left without saying goodbye. She admits it was selfish but necessary, and Tata wonders if she's forcing herself to live this life. Teresa insists that she genuinely loves her family and her people, but then she tells him something even harder to hear, that she's arranged to marry Charles, a decision made long ago. After leaving the palace, Tata is broken, while Alexandra tries to comfort Teresa, but Teresa asks to be alone. She returns to her room and cries, while Charles waits quietly outside, concerned. As Tata walks out, Rachel tries to give him a letter meant for his grandfather. Tata thanks her, but keeps walking, too upset to engage. Rachel then slips the letter into his bag without saying anything. Tata wanders outside, lost in thought, when a voice suddenly calls out. He sees that it's Karu. He's finally found Tata again after losing track of him earlier, but when he gets closer, he sees something that stuns him. Tata is crying while his heart is broken inside. Meanwhile, Teresa is still upset over how her last meeting with Tata ended. Rachel closes the curtains, noting the stars are hidden by the clouds. She tells Teresa that when life feels uncertain, the North Star can guide her, just like Tata's grandfather once said. Teresa realizes the same story came from the person who inspired his grandfather. Alexandra, also in the room, tries to explain the connection that Rachel and Tata's grandfather once had, a brief but special relationship, and never saw each other again, much like Teresa and Tata. Teresa believes she'll never see Tata again, just like her story mirrored his grandfather's. She feels both joy and sadness from his brief visit. Alexandra comforts her, calling love a cruel force that makes people do unexpected things. Teresa remembers when she tried to kiss Tata, and Alexandra lies to console her, saying she did her best and tomorrow will be better. Teresa sees through the lie, but Alexandra offers hope through a line from Yui's novel that a new wind will come for them tomorrow. But for tonight, Teresa allows herself to cry one last time in Alexandra's arms. Outside, Charles brings flowers but overhears their conversation, and without saying anything, he quietly leaves to give them space. Elsewhere, Kaoru comforts Tata as he cries, trying to understand what's wrong. When he asks about Teresa and Alexandra, Tata barely responds. Eventually, Tata shares that Teresa is going to marry Charles, which shocks Karu. As they stand on a bridge, Tata admits he admires Teresa's decision to live as a queen. That reminds Karu of how Teresa once gave up her dream of being a ballerina and chose to live with a smile. Karu asks if Tata ever told Teresa what he truly felt, but Tata says it no longer matters. When Karu questions why he even came to Larsenberg, Tata avoids the answer, frustrating Karu. He grabs Tata's bag, and a letter slips out. When they open it, they discover it's an invitation to a party at Larsenberg Castle. Kaoru sees this as a chance for Tata to finally tell Teresa how he feels. Tata realizes the invitation is from Rachel and becomes unsure, as he doesn't want to make things harder for Teresa. Annoyed that Tata keeps holding back, Kaoru reminds him that just coming to Larsenberg took courage. Kaoru points out how much Tata has changed, as he's crying now, when before, even during his parents' funeral, he didn't. Teresa has brought out a new side of him, and Kaoru loves the new side of him. Tata says nothing, so Kaoru threatens to throw the invitation into the river. A gust of wind knocks it from his hand, and it flies away. Tata jumps in and chases after it, thinking about all the memories he shared with Teresa and the things he regrets not saying. Just before the invitation falls into the sewers, Tata dives and grabs it. Kaoru helps him up, and they return to their hotel. The next day, Karu helps Tata prepare for the party, and just before he leaves, Karu lifts his spirits and secretly snaps a picture of him from behind. At the same time, Alexandra helps Teresa get ready, and Charles arrives to escort her. As he walks her to the party hall, he admits it's hard hiding his true feelings. Inside, the crowd watches and bows as the princess arrives, and Charles tells her that her happiness is more important to him than anything else. Then, in front of everyone, he gently questions her feelings. Suddenly, Tata steps forward, holding his invitation. He tells everyone he's there to stop living with regret and to say something important to Teresa. Alexandra tries to stop him, but Charles allows him to speak privately with her. As they leave, Charles warns Tata not to hurt her, and he won't forgive him if he does, as he too wants Teresa to be happy. In a quiet room, Tata thanks Teresa for the chance to talk. He explains that he wanted to express his gratitude during their last meeting but couldn't. Now he's ready. He tells her she changed him, and that despite their different worlds, their shared hobby brought them together. From the moment he met her, he fell in love, and because of their time together and everything they shared, he confesses his love. Teresa begins to cry. She says it's unfair to receive his confession now, because the real reason she left Japan was due to her own feelings for him, and she has loved him since the day they met. She rests her head on his chest and says she will never forget his love, and Tata feels the same, but doesn't hold her in return. Months later, Hajime graduates, and in the club room, he packs up and receives flowers from Hinako. He shares the news that he got into Tokyo University and won't be visiting as often. The group meets at Tata's cafe to celebrate and laugh together, and Hajime names Tata as the new leader of the photography club, and thanks everyone for the memories. Meanwhile, Charles and Alexandra take a short vacation, and Charles reads in the newspaper that his engagement has officially been called off. In Japan, Tata visits the palace where he first met Teresa, and as rain begins to fall, he takes shelter by the gate. To his surprise, Teresa appears. She tells him she's come to be with him, so they'll never be apart again. They embrace as the rain suddenly stops, and then they kiss, right where everything started. Comment down below, Rainbow Shogun, if you watched till the end. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.